From the creators who brought you RuPaul's Drag Race and $1 Million Listing, this is World of Wonder's Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Welcome to the Wow Report. We're coming to you from very smoky, scary Los Angeles. I'm Tom Campbell, taking the place of Fenton Bailey, our fearless leader who is out of the country on business, safe and sound. Joined this week, as we are every week, by club kid turned best-selling author and my arch nemesis, James St. James. How are you, James?
I'm a little nauseous and stuffy today, and we'll talk about that in a minute because it's a weird day today.
That's the kind of teaser that keeps people around for a little. James a little nauseous. Find out more as we continue.
Nauseous and stuffy.
Also joining us is our fabulous producer, Blake Jacobs, who's always on air, but he'll be joining us for the full show. Let's just dive in. Lots to talk about. Happy New Year. Last time we can say that, I guess. But here we go at number 10.
Number 10.
Full disclosure, we are pre-taping this show on Wednesday. That'll air Friday and for the weekend, but we can't fake it. We are living this in real time and having our emotional reactions, which I hope we're all safe when this airs.
Now, everyone from home is asking me if I'm safe. You guys are all safe, right? We're all like saved by freeways.
And everyone who's marking themselves safe, like the wind here on Wednesday is still blowing. Sparks can happen anywhere. I had a doctor's appointment Tuesday morning, and Sunset Boulevard across the Mondrian was closed because there was a fire in the hills, and it was before the big fires broke out, so they were able to stop it. But I woke up early this morning. I looked to the west, and the sky was the eeriest I've ever seen it. It was orange and black. It was daylight, but it wasn't. And then I turned to the east, and it was the exact same thing because the fires are happening that way too.
I woke up this morning at 9:30 and I looked out my window and I thought it was 4 a.m. because it was so dark. It was like literally the sun was blocked out. I'm nauseous.
The air quality is really bad
right now. Yeah, I'm trying not to go out. Thank God I just bought a bunch of masks, COVID masks, so that I can go to the store later on. But like I said, it was pitch black outside at 9:30 in the morning.
Yes.
It was just bizarre. Like we were just saying that, here in Hollywood, I'm in Hancock Park. There's probably no fire danger. There might be a 1% chance or whatever, but the air quality is so bad right now.
Which, if that's your biggest problem, we're one of the lucky ones, right?
Yeah,
People
exactly.
I go to an anonymous meeting in the Palisades every Saturday morning with a friend, and we go into Malibu, and I'm frightened to see what, if anything, from that neighborhood.
Looking today at some of the news online on social media, the Palisades and Malibu, it looks like London during the Blitz. I mean, that's not hyperbole right there. It looks like bombed out. It is so much of the Palisades is just gone.
It takes a village, and the village has burned down. Several villages have burned down.
Yeah. Well, this is just the one fire we're talking about. There are 4 fires burning around Los Angeles. There's Eaton around Pasadena, Hearst fire around Santa Clarita, the Palisades fire, and the Woodley fire, which are close to Malibu and Palisades.
Yeah. And again, by the time this airs, our listeners will be way ahead of us. But my sister and I spoke last night as it was just becoming clearer and clearer. This was like out of control. And she's like, do you have a go bag? Do you have cash? Do you have cash so I got my car full of gas. Went to the ATM and got 20s. And, so again, everything, knock on wood. I also have, one of the things, if you know RuPaul really well, could like to name drop, he buys you expensive gifts. No, he doesn't. What he buys everybody is this Halo flashlight that also is a battery that can jump the cables in your car. And can I tell you, I plugged that mother in last night, and it may save my life at some point. So,
well, I've talked many times on this show about Hancock Park is one of the oldest neighborhoods in Los Angeles, and the electric grid here is like it's taped together and is with bubble gum and tree sap, and if there's a stiff wind more than 5 miles an hour, I lose electricity. And I have been praying, I have my, little lantern all charged up and everything, all my iPads and everything charged. But last night at about 10 o'clock, the electricity went out for about 5 minutes, then it went on, and then it was blinking back and forth for about an hour. But so far it's held. And I think today they said there was one more big mid-afternoon gust that was supposed to last about an hour where things were going to get bad. But then after that, it might calm down a little bit. fingers crossed.
You know, I've lived in LA since 1986, and this is absolutely one of the worst. You know, it's like the riots, the earthquake, and this are really the worst things that could happen. So our thoughts and prayers beyond. And I think this is going to be an opportunity for us all to step forward and help people through this, because I think the devastation, we can't even anticipate what has happened. And it's not hyperbole. It's not us being drama queens. Something really bad has happened. Of course, you all know that.
Well, the other day yesterday I was out driving I have a smart car, and like literally I thought I was gonna be blown away to Oz. I thought it was gonna pick up and I was gonna end up Dorothy somewhere, you know. So I might come and live in your
you would be the one that the house fell on.
How dare you? I would just keep that up, because I'm coming to live with you, Blake. So just keep up.
I thought you were coming to live with me, and I was scared to death. God bless everyone, and we will carry on with the show and hopefully cause some amusement for those of us who are listening. For those of you who are listening, let's move on now to number 9.
Number 9.
I went to go see Nosferatu at the theater over the weekend.
Now, do you have to see Nosferatu 1?
That's very good, Blake. Yes, you do. Nosferatu is basically, if you know the story, it was a 1922 German expressionist horror film, one of the first horror films, silent movie. There's a number of stories about it that's interesting, but basically what it was Dracula, but the Bram Stoker's family would not give the rights up to Dracula, so they just changed his name to Count Orlok and called it Nosferatu, which is German for vampire, or something like that, I think. Anyway, so this movie is absolutely terrifying. It's absolutely gorgeous. You have to see it in the theater. Do not wait for it to be streaming. It is visually overwhelming. The costumes, the 1830s German, yes, Blake, what?
How long is it? Is it really long?
Okay. You know what film connoisseurs we are.
Yeah. Okay. If that's your biggest issue with going to the
I meant the vampire wiener.
Oh. It's uncut. That's all you need to know.
Oh.
Bill Skarsgård is uncut. Interestingly, Bill Skarsgård just dissolves into the role in the way that Colin Farrell does into the Penguin, where you don't even recognize him. The prosthetics, everything about it is so good. His voice is terrifying and it's hypnotic. It is so good. Nicholas Hoult is in it, and I love Nicholas Hoult and everything he does. He plays sort of the Renfrew character, the Renfield character. Yeah. I think he's Oscar worthy. He's just absolutely fantastic. My husband, Aaron Taylor Johnson, looks so good in period pieces, and the outfits are 1830s German, and it's so fantastic. Yes.
Well, wasn't he already played Renfield in that movie?
That's so weird, because Nicholas Hoult has a great career in horror films, and he did just recently play Renfield in the movie Renfield with Nicolas Cage as Dracula. So it is interesting that he's
I knew the name.
Yeah, it's but that was a comedy, and this is deadly serious. There's a few laughs in this. Lily Rose Depp is also in it, and she has that perfectly oval face that looks so good in a bonnet. She really is so perfect to be in 1830s Germany.
The same could be said about you, James St. James. You look good in a bonnet.
Bonnets. Remember, I told you that I was very into bonnets. But yeah, so I'm that's the first thing I noticed was how good she looked in a bonnet. Did want to say that there was some social media discourse saying that, vampires are supposed to be sexy, and there's something inherently sensual about biting the neck and everything, and this is not that at all. And one of the reasons they came up with that is that Lily Rose Depp believes that her sexuality is dirty and ugly and terrifying, and therefore the manifestation of that terror about sex would be Count Orlok, who is dirty and ugly and disgusting. So it sort of makes sense that this vampire would be something terrifying, because she was terrified of her own sexuality.
So I'm going to put you on the spot. You are pitching this movie to the studio. There have been 1,000 vampire movies. Why this one? Why now?
The cast is spectacular. The take on it is very different than the sexy vampire trope that we all know. This is just straight up horror, and it's hypnotizing and mesmerizing, and you fall into it in a way that I had dreams about this for a week afterward. I have been thinking about it nonstop. Like I said, visually, orally, just everything about it stays with you. It seeps into your bones, into your psyche. Bill Skarsgard's performance really is one of the for the ages. He is so good at horror. You know, he was Pennywise. He does these things, these roles that are just can tap into just terror in your soul.
Sold. I'm buying it. I'm green lighting the picture, James.
But like
Excellent
I said,
job.
see it in the movie theater. Damn it! Do not wait for it to be streaming.
So that's Nosferatu. James says it doesn't suck. Actually, it's quite good. Ha 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 ha.
You guys are on a roll today.
We're having PTSD. Shut up. All right, let's move on now to number 8.
Number 8.
Over the holiday break, which now feels like 7 years ago, I did that thing. I went back to see my brother and sister in New Hampshire. But before I did that thing where I put myself up in a cheap hotel. Hello, Pod, 42nd at Times Square Hotel with bunk beds.
Did you have your own bathroom at least?
I did have my own bathroom. I like them clean, but they can be tiny. If I have to go outside to change my mind, the rooms are so small, but that's okay. Yeah. And I went and I saw 5 plays, 3 of which I'll talk about in this segment. First and foremost, I saw Sunset Boulevard.
I cannot wait to hear this because I do not understand it, Tom. Please.
Is this the one with Nicole Scherzinger?
Yes.
Yes. So it's Andrew Lloyd Webber. It's a remake of the musical he did with Glenn Close and things like that. Natty Lapone. Yes, it's been around forever. The music's been around forever. Barbra Streisand has sang the songs. And I was reading all these reviews afterwards, and they were saying that initially, in its first incarnation, Sunset Boulevard was kind of like there were 2 good songs, and then they said you went away humming the scenery. It was very ornately. It was, the mansion and the staircase and chandeliers,
and outfits, your turbans.
Yes.
Yes.
This one is stripped down to the raw sexuality, and it works. Nicole Scherzinger appears as only in a black sheath slip. She's portrayed at the very beginning. The lights come up and it's the overture, and then it's Nicole Scherzinger, and everyone gives her a star applause, and then you realize it's a younger woman playing Nicole. Like instead of the flashback, she's watching her young self, who's also in the slip, who you keep confusing, and it's the exact same story. It's the exact same lines from the movie. It's very, very, very real, which is about a fading movie star who's desperate to make a comeback and kind of entraps the struggling writer to help her bring her vision of Salome. And he goes, "How old are you?" 45. "How old Salome?" 16. So it's just like delusional.
But here's the thing, though. So much of it depends on the outfits and the scenery and stuff like that. How do you strip it all away and it still works?
Because it's a psychological thriller. And the leads are just so charismatic. And they use a device I have never seen work on the stage until now. They do screen on screen. There's a video camera that comes up, which makes sense for I'm ready for my close-up. It integrates. So you're watching, it's kind of like when you go to a concert, you're watching the people, but you're also watching the screen, and it really works, and it's dark. And there are at least 3 moments. We had 2 standing ovations throughout the night. There are 3 spots. We didn't stand the first time. We're all lazy. But the energy in the room, it reminds me of when I first saw Dreamgirls and Jennifer Holliday was singing, and I'm not telling you I'm going. And when she starts to sing, everyone's like, ah. And by the time they scream and yell.
Jennifer Holliday and Dreamgirls?
I did. It was my very first Broadway show I saw when I was 18.
Wow.
So this was akin to that. It's also campier, funnier, more self-knowing than I ever thought it would be. Okay, I have to move on. So the next thing, and I'll go through them quickly, but I recommend all of these highly. And then I went to see Death Becomes Her with Megan Hilty. It's a RuPaul's Drag Race episode on a budget. I mean, not on a budget, with a big budget. It is as campy as the movie, if not more. For instance, there are fight scenes. They do a lot of the physicality. They do all the special effects that happened on the stage.
How do they do the hole in the stomach and things like that?
You can't see through it, but it's a big black hole that's smoking when it happens. But they have all these fight scenes, and what happens is they duck behind a couch, and then a man in a wig pops up. You know what I mean? It's like it's that level, but it's done well. But it's all the fight scenes. There's hair in his this in front of their faces and they come up and they're all twisted and whatever. It's not the A++++ reviews of, Sunset Boulevard and all that kind of stuff. But I tell you, I laugh more than I laughed at any play in a long, long
songs. Are the songs hummable? Did you walk
They're
away?
Very hummable. There's a number that I didn't even get until afterwards. 100%. I got it 95%, which is Megan Hilty is the grand dame. She's the showbiz person. So we get to see her.
I've seen this number. Yeah,
we get to see her act at the the beginning of the first act, and it's like, I do it for the GAZE. I do it for the gays, and it's just, I do it so you look at me. I do it, but it is the campiest. It makes Drag Race look like homophobic. Because she goes from a rainbow flag to a trans flag. At the very ending, she's like Dorothy from this. Like, it's every quick reveal into one outfit after another. And who does she do it for? The gays. I do it all for the gays. Anyway, death becomes her. Run, don't walk. And then I wasn't going to see this one because I was being very opinionated. But I did go to see Audra in Gypsy. And I realized I've seen Tyne Daly in Gypsy. I've seen Bette Midler on television. I've seen Bernadette Peters. I've seen, and I thought it's one of the great. It is one of the greatest musicals.
I mean, there is no greater musical in the history of musicals. I mean,
yes.
Every song is a banger. Every single song.
And when you really realize that is the second act, when there's no fat in the second act. It's like it's all new songs. It's all you got to have a gimmick. All that is the second act. You're like blown away by the depth and the richness of it.
And tell me, how is Rose's turn? Does she kill? Someone tell me. When is it my turn? Don't I get a dream for myself?
I think of Audra McDonald as being very polished, being very operatic. I do not see Rose that way. But I thought, you know what? This is the play that every diva of that caliber, and Audra McDonald is the top of the heap, should put their imprint on it. And boy, did she! It
starts with Ethel Merman. Ethel Merman, and it was the first Rose. I mean, you have that to live up to.
Audra made it work so well. It's one of those stages where the orchestra pit is cut out at the front, so there's like a runway in front of the stage. And when she finishes Rose's turn, I mean, she has spat on all of us. She has drooled and spit and emoted, and every vein in her body is popping out. And we, again, as an audience, to be there and rush to our feet. It's exciting to be in the company of her greatness and be in between her and the rush of appreciation. Okay. So, brava, Audra, and more Broadway reviews coming up.
Audra really is the best that we have right now. It's nice that we still have Tyne and Patty and Bernadette and everything like that. But right now, for this generation, Audra is it.
Yeah, it's fantastic. All right. So we've come to our little break. Blake, do you have anything you want to share with us?
I do. RuPaul's Drag Race season 17 is currently airing on MTV every Friday. And I have a little trivia question. Of course, you all know, but maybe those out in Radio Land don't know. The Party Clown made a second appearance on RuPaul's Drag Race this week. Who plays the Party Clown?
Let me think about it. Okay. Well, the answer to that and so much more, we're going to break, but we'll be right back. Don't go away. You're listening to the Wow Report on Radio Andy.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
We're back. It's the Wow Report here on Radio Andy. We are counting down the top 10 things this week that made us go, wow. Tom, James St. James, Blake Jacobs. Before the commercial, we had a little trivia question from Blake. Would you repeat it?
RuPaul's Drag Race, season 17 is currently airing on RuPaul's Drag Race. The premiere episode was last Friday, featuring the Party Clown for its second appearance. Who plays the Party Clown?
Victoria Porkchop.
Close.
It is the one, the only Blake Jacobs. But I have to put it in context for people who don't watch the show. We did season 8 or something or whatever. We did all the winners of RuPaul's Drag Race showed up the first episode, and the new queens had to take portraits with the winner's circle. And everyone was available except for Bianca Del Rio, who was away. So Ru was like, you know what? Put somebody in a clown suit and have them come for the photo. So we shaved Blake's beard. We put him in like a Party City clown suit, and it made Drag Race history. We were able, by the way, to take the picture with Bianca later on. So this year, the cold open to the show was a Squid Game takeoff. There was like 50 queens who, instead of getting shot like they did in Squid Game, get pies in their face. And who was there representing the brand, the franchise. But Blake, who once again shaved his beard, which I know is a big thing for you, and you looked marvelous. Well, hopefully it'll happen again soon. But in the meantime, let's continue with the countdown. Let's move on to number 7.
Number 7.
So right before Christmas, I was going through Facebook and I came across an ad that the Sweat Tour, Charlie XCX and Troye Sivan, was going to be in virtual reality on MetaQuest 3. What is MetaQuest 3? That's like it's like virtual reality thing.
The goggles,
right.
Yeah.
And MetaQuest, Meta merged with Oculus. Yeah, and they have a version that is only like $500 compared to the $3,000 version of
just
Apple.
for the goggles. Right. Okay.
Yeah, but you can watch these concerts in virtual reality, and I got my MetaQuest. I ordered one, got it in time to watch the Sweat Tour, and it was actually the show that you were at, Tom.
Could you see me in the cheap? Yeah,
I could. I was like,
who was that old guy?
Yeah,
it's like wherever the camera was. If the camera's on stage, then you were on stage with the people.
Yes, you could see Charlie XCX and Troye Sivan like right there. I also watched a Sabrina Carpenter concert. It was really cool. Yeah. So I feel like for the price of concert tickets these days, you can basically get a MetaQuest and watch it as many times as you want, right?
Theoretically, could you do like an old Beatles or Diana Ross concert or something like that?
No, it has to be shot.
You have to film it in the MetaQuest.
Yeah, I can watch TV. Like one of my favorite things is you can put the goggles on, lay on your bed, and there's a huge screen you see in front of you, so you can watch TV laying in bed, But that also,
as opposed to laying in bed and watching.
Ask an indelicate question.
I know what you're going to ask, and yes, you can.
And have you?
There's porn? Are you saying there's gay porn?
Yeah, you can watch porn on it. It's like a giant screen. You can almost smell it.
Gulp. Gulp. That's kind of cool. So you paid how much for the goggles?
It was like I bought a used set of. They have a cheap version that's a little less specky for about $300. I bought the higher up version, but used for about $400.
And how much does it cost to watch the program? You have to rent it or buy it?
No, you just go to these worlds and stuff and watch it. Yeah, because there's also games.
They have some where you're flying through space, or you're tripping in like a K-hole or something. I mean, can they do all that?
I'm sure there are all these worlds and stuff. There's this one program where you can scan your living room and move like see what it would look like if the furniture would fit if you like rearranged it or bought new stuff.
So the content is free. You just pay for the goggles at this point.
Yeah, I mean, that's all I've found. I'm sure.
Are you ripping stuff off? Are you like illegally downloading your Charlie XCX?
Well, yeah, but because I can't imagine the porn is free. You'd have to pay per thing.
There's a browser through it, so it's just like the internet.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I want to find out more.
This is like when Katie Couric and Brian Gumbel or whatever were like,
what is internet?
What is this internet? We're gonna pull this up in about 5 years when we're all living in the goggles.
Well, the kids are calling it new MetaQuest 3. Thank you, Blake. We'll keep us posted. We are moving on now to number 666.
Number 6.
Now, as much as I love Nicholas Hoult in Nosferatu, I hated him in Juror number 2 on Netflix right now. He stars in a new movie called Juror number 2. It is horrible. It sucks so bad. I have to just warn everybody not to watch this movie. Yes.
Well, what I've heard about it is it leads up. It's like there's going to be a big twist, and then there's a big nothing.
Well, here we go. Let me just sort of explain it to you. Nicholas Hoult. First of all, it's a 2-hour movie that could have been 20 minutes long. It could have just been done big, but it feels like 9 hours of watching paint dry. Okay, Nicholas Hoult is, surprise, surprise, Juror number 2. 2. He's on a trial, and very early on, there's a twist in which we learn that no spoiler alert, but we learn that he has a piece of information that might exonerate the guy, and the guy is on trial for murdering his girlfriend. He had an argument with her at a bar one night, and he let her run off in the rain, and then she died as she's running off in the rain. And they think that he killed her and shoved her into a ditch. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. But Nicholas Hoult is one of the jurors. He has a piece of information that might exonerate, but he doesn't say anything. So what it turns into then is it's like 2 hours of 12 Angry Men. It's every 12 Angry Men, parody trope that you've ever seen, where they're in the room talking. And first it's 11-1, and then it's 10-2, then 8-9, and it goes on and on and on and on and on. And Nicholas Hoult is doing an American accent, which is good, and he's got those big blue eyes, which I can watch for hours and hours and hours. But he's just so boring and so terrible. And Toni Collette is in it, and Toni, who we love, Toni Collette.
Everyone loves Toni Collette.
Everybody loves, but she thinks she's in a Tennessee Williams play. She's talking like this. She's the defense attorney. She's the prosecutor, and oh my stars, she's just trying to talk with this Southern accent. She's terrible.
Are you making fun of Blake's accent right now?
I am. She's like some Arkansas hillbilly, is what she's like. Right? She's like some clown, some party clown from Arkansas. But then also, the one saving grace, and this, Blake, this is for you. Chris Messina is the defense attorney. And so handsome. He's such a daddy. He really saves it, because every time the camera goes on.
Chris Maloney?
No, Messina.
Oh, okay.
You know Chris Messina.
I'm looking him up.
Loggins and Messina?
Yes.
Thank you. The third.
Oh yeah, Chris Messina. I do get him confused with Chris
Maloney. Sure. Yeah. The MIs. Yeah.
Is it safe to blame this on the director, do you think, in the writing?
It is. I'll tell you something. The difference between Eggers, who directed Nicholas Hoult in Nosferatu, and this is Clint Eastwood. This is probably Clint Eastwood's last movie, and he's sort of he didn't really put any energy into it, any effort. He's sort of directing from, like, I guess his ICU,
from his
whatever
empty chair.
Yeah, from the empty chair at the Republic Convention. J.K. Simmons is in it. I dislike J.K. Simmons immensely. He's one of the jurors. Every juror is a one-dimensional cutout character that is just awful. I just beg you, do not watch it.
It's funny because in I watch a lot of Turner Classic movies, as you do, James, and I it's amazing to see how long so many directors last, and they're so relevant for so long. And then there's just a time, and you can't express when he's in his 90s or something, where it doesn't. All of the pieces stop fitting together. So,
who was it Billy Wilder who did Just Friends or something like that?
Yes, Best Friends or something. Yes.
Yeah. Oh God. So yeah, and this is sort of that, where it's Clint Eastwood. And it's it's probably his last project. But
so in award season, when there are so many movies to watch, James is saying you can skip Juror 2. Okay, stay away.
Kryptonite, just stay away from it.
A Netflix pick.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on now to number 5.
Number 5.
Tom Takes Broadway, Part 2. I'm going to talk about separately and together, because they're kind of I talked about, with Gypsy, Death Becomes Your Sunset Boulevard. It's about divas. It's about show business. It's about, just over the top acting and scenes and spitting and screaming. I also saw the straight play, Our Town, Thornton Wilder's Our Town. And I saw a new play. It's a musical with Darren Criss called Maybe Happy Ending.
I think Darren Criss is so hot.
He is hot. He's 38. He looks like he's 21. And I saw him in Little Shop of Horrors, coincidentally, a few years ago. He has a fan base that just follows him around, like on the daily.
Hedwig. I saw him in Hedwig out here in Los Angeles. Yeah. And the screaming of the Glee fans, the Greeks were there.
Yes, and they show up every single time. Yeah. Anyway, this is the first thing I'll tell you is sentimental, which is I love Our Town. I think James feels differently, but I saw a production in the Newport High School, where I went to school, to population 6,000 in New Hampshire, of Our Town, where my brother played the narrator, the stage manager, which is a role that is played by the guy from Big Bang Theory,
Jim Parsons.
And I was in 6th grade and so wanted to be in the play. And the plays were so good. The high school plays, that I won't go into it, but they were so exceptional. Charles Massey was our drama teacher. And I knew the part because I got my brother off book. So if anything happened, you could tag me. I could go up there 6th grade and play the part. But it's about life, death, what's important. It's as relevant today as it ever has been. And for it to be, because it's set in a little town, Grover's Corners in New Hampshire. I'm from a little town in New Hampshire, and that high school production with all those Yankee accents and all those families whose tombstones were on the hill, it was real. And so I invited my brother down to New York, which I hadn't done, so we could do it together, one-on-one, spend some bro time. And he came in. It's multi-culti. Katie Holmes is in it. They have black families and white families. The only one thing that they altered, this is the beginning, they had the entire cast, which is quite large, come on, and they were all singing or chanting or praying different religious prayers. And can I tell you, it blew me away. It sounds corny, and if you had told me this, I would be rolling my eyes like you are. But to be like, it made me think of like, what would it sound like if you heard everyone praying at once? It was really kind of deafening and beautiful.
Here's the thing: this is a small New Hampshire town in the 1940s. There's no multi-culti in 1940s New Hampshire.
It's 1910. It's 1910. But they're just trying to expand the borders of our town. I get it.
But sometimes it makes sense. Sometimes it does not. And this is one of those cases where I do not believe that there are going to be Tibetan monks and
no, but I got to tell you,
Allah in 1940s New Hampshire.
It's 1910, and it is
1910.
And it
Even
is
worse.
And everything now, almost everything I saw, with rare exception, everyone's like, it's people are in turn of the century clothes, and the mail boy was in cutoffs. It's like nothing matters anymore. I think they want to have people who come.
Nothing matters. When nothing matters, then nothing matters.
Well, that's why we do the show every week. Okay, thank you very much for giving our sideline.
Okay, can I just say that I too was the narrator in my high school production of Our Town, so I know whereof I speak here.
Oh,
it is the corniest damn play. Everything about it is just hokum. It is twaddle. It is just silliness. It is everything about it is corny. It's just corny.
Blake, will you join me in a prayer circle so we can pray for James' heart that it opens up and accepts the love of our town? Amen.
You know how I feel about theater.
This is not a musical.
Okay.
This is not a musical. No.
Let me just say, can I give you if that didn't melt your heart, James, maybe this will. So, my brother comes down. It's a big deal for us to be together in New York. He comes in, we get in the theater. It's just a hustle to get off the street. It's cold. We have jackets. We get the thing. We sit in the seats. We're down there. We have great seats. Thank you, Tom. And that's me. And we have my parkas on and taking it off. And my brother slips me the program. And I look at it, and it looks so different. It matches the set. And my brother had found and brought the original program from 1974 with adolescent zitty pictures of my brother, with all the cast, with Joanna Mullins names, Michael Bernard, just like every name, Michael Nemi, like, oh my God, the entire school. And then just to add,
Michael Bernard.
just to the end. So in the back, it's all the, it's sponsored. So all the local, businesses that no longer exist on Main Street, Newport, including Gothier and Woodard Insurance Real Estate, where my dad worked, where he says, my dad would do all the copywriting. Hello. And it would be like, we don't handle everyone's insurance in our town, just most everyone. So that was so sweet.
That is very sweet. Yes.
Thank you. And my sweet brother. And then maybe ever after is, in a nutshell, it's in the future. It's set in the future. In the future, we don't have Siri or Alexa. We actually have human-like helper bots that take care of us, but eventually we upgrade them and get rid of them. But because they look like people, they send them to like retirement homes where they just kind of over time kind of become more and more obsolete. So Darren, and someone said it's the closest thing to a Pixar movie on Broadway that you've ever seen. And Darren Criss is a helper bot 3.0. He's sturdy, but is a little bit off on the spectrum, if you will. And he's waiting there for years and years and years, doing the same thing every day, waiting for his owner to come back. He didn't quite get the hint. And suddenly there's a ding dong in his bell. His life is interrupted by a helper bot, a beautiful woman next door who's a 5. And 5s are more human-like, but aren't as sturdy. And then it's about mortality and how do they stay and can they find their owners, and can you those other musicals were like yelling and screaming and stuff. This is like small and tender and beautiful. It's like a gem box of a beautiful moving. And at the end, there's the thing with, I won't say it. There's a thing at the end. There's some visualization and metaphor that left me
Now, is this something that could be easily made into a Hollywood movie? Is this something that you see having legs and living on beyond the
It
stage?
could, but what makes it so spectacular is there isn't a curtain. There's like 3 black screens that come together and like close off to like, boop, everything's like neon outlined and things play in boxes. It feels like you're watching a video screen. And yet
it feels like you're on a Google Meta goggle.
Yes. So anyway, that's Our Town, which I think is closed. Sorry, it's the sleeper hit of the year. Anyway, maybe happy every. Okay, I've gone too long. Let's move on to our break with more of Wow Report. Anything, Blake, before we go? Or
I also want to remind everyone that RuPaul's DragCon UK is this weekend, January 10th and 11th at XL in London. So you can get your tickets at RuPaul'sDragCon.com.
Okay, so let's move on to a break. A little happy words from our sponsors, and we'll be right back with more Wow Report on Radio Andy.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
All right, we are back. You're listening to the Wow Report right here on Radio Andy. Each week, we count down the top 10 things that make us go wow. And we have reached number 4.
Number 4.
I want to keep this short and sweet. Take a moment to recognize the incredible person and contribution of President Jimmy Carter, who lived to be 100 years old. He wasn't the most popular president. A lot of people don't remember this. It's a crazy thing. But, because even at his memorial, it's like, you have Kamala Harris speaking and she did a beautiful job, but no one knew him. It's like it was a whole other generation. Biden knows him. But it's hard to remember or put yourself back in how devastated the country was after Watergate and Nixon's resignation. And while I think Gerald Ford did a really good job, he was part of that. And so Jimmy Carter was this fresh start. And he was about environmental things, but he was way ahead of his time on so many things.
He was the first to have on the roof of the White House, he had the solar panels, which was huge in this. And it was a scandal.
Which Reagan took down.
Yeah.
That 1980 election and America choosing Reagan and all the bluster of like, we need new China. We need, we're Americans.
The glamour of Hollywood that they brought in. Yes.
The trickle down theory, the idea that we're going to take away the taxes of the rich and we're going to, we're going to trickle down all that stuff.
At the time, and I never quite understood because to me, he is a good soul. He was a good man who dedicated his life post-presidency to helping the poor, to building homes for the poor, to being a man of God, to being a good person. But people despised him.
But when I think of a Christian, I think of Jimmy Carter, and that fills my heart with joy and love. And he and Rosalind, it was a great love story. He also brokered peace between Israel and Egypt. I'm like, he did profound things in the 4 years he was in office. So listen, I'm not
Menachem Begin, right? At Camp David, wasn't that the whole? Yeah, it all happened at Camp David.
Where Trump was going to invite the Taliban at one point.
And then, unfortunately, what happened with the Iranian prisoners, the hostages, is he was negotiating right up until that last day to have them free. But Reagan, like Trump, said, do not allow them to be freed while he is president.
Right.
And then the day that Reagan took office, they let the hostages go.
Right.
So it seemed like Reagan did it.
Which, in hindsight, if it had been, was treasonous on Reagan's part.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. But they did it to make Jimmy Carter look bad and to make Reagan look good.
Yes.
And it's very Trumpian.
Dirty politics have been around for a long time, but I don't think we'll ever necessarily get back to where we were. Jimmy Carter looking down on us from heaven, rest in peace. So let's move on now to number 3.
Number 3.
Number 3, one of my Christmas presents this year was a book, Behind the Shoulder Pads by Joan Collins, Stories I Tell My Friend. And when I tell you that
is that a new book? Because you can't tell because she's looked the same for the past 60 years.
Exactly. It's a 2023 book. It came out last year.
Okay.
I just now got it. So I just want to say that I sunk into it. It is delicious. It is dishy. It is gossipy. It is fun. Every single page is a story from old Hollywood where Burt Lancaster is chasing her around a couch, or he's got his hand down her pants on stage at the Oscars in 1957, or there's like this new gossip where she's, in Central Pay with Pierce Morgan and Naomi Campbell and Leonardo DiCaprio, and how horrible Leonardo DiCaprio. She was with Warren Beatty in the early 60s.
Yes.
And he got her pregnant, and it would ruin both of their careers. And so she had this back alley abortion. She goes off on losing abortion rights and everything. So she keeps it. It's old stories, it's new stories. It is everything told through her voice, which is, Princess Margaret and I were on Mystique when, that horror, so, Mick Jagger arrived. It's so funny because she really is, she can talk about being with the Queen of England. She can talk about her friendship with Princess Diana. She can talk about being with Elizabeth Taylor in the 1950s. She can talk about all of those story after story after story. It's just fascinating.
I have not read the book, but I follow her. She pops up my social media. And again, to have all of that experience, and she's still so sharp. It's just
and
amazing life.
She had a horrible career. She was Z-list for so long. She was doing like Them, that movie with the giant ants in the 1970s. She did The Stud. She did The Bitch. She did like all these.
I remember,
movies. And then she had one of the greatest comebacks of all time with Dynasty, in which like literally she ruled the 80s in a way that very few people can say that they did.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So she's just fascinating stuff.
It's Behind the Shoulder Pads by Joan Collins. Read it today. All right, let's move on now to number 2.
Number 2.
The Golden Globes. What'd you guys think?
Yeah, I just wanted to very quickly, run through some of the night that was just so much fun. I thought that Nikki Glaser was spectacular. She was so funny as the host. Tom, do you agree?
Spot on. Every joke, everything. She actually, the day afterwards, released the jokes that she had cut out. And she was right to cut them out. They were too mean. She walked the line. She was so funny. Endlessly funny the whole evening. Anyway, keep going.
She said very early on, I'm not here to roast you, but there's going to be some gentle ribbing. There is going to be some. She talked about Timothy Chalamet's, what great eyelashes you have on your upper lip. That's about as mean as it got, basically.
And what was your favorite song, Blake?
Popular. I want to feel popular.
Worst dress of the evening was Elle Fanning in that horrible ball gown with the leopard print on it. Just terrible. I want to say how beautiful Nicole Kidman looks, how beautiful everybody looks so good. Jean Smart, I know you were very happy about her Hacks win. I think I was a little upset because I think she was against Christine Milioti from Batman. Was that the same category?
The Penguin.
From the Penguin, and I thought Christine should have got it. Demi Moore was absolutely spectacular. Her speech, I think, secured her Oscar nomination and might have just gotten her a win because it was just so heartfelt and beautiful. Pamela Anderson, I'm just so happy to see Pamela being a part of this. She was there with her son, who is so handsome now, and she looks so beautiful. She's just doing everything right. So it was a wonderful night for me. I just absolutely loved it.
The Golden Globes, the award season has begun. It's on.
Oh, wait, best dress of the night, though, was Selena Gomez. Did you see that light blue gown with dripping in the diamonds and the hair, that sort of 30s sort of finger wavy going into the curl? Oh, it was just spectacular.
Love looks good on her. She's in love and it shows. So that's wonderful. All right. We are running out of time, but not before we reveal the number one thing that made us go wow this week. That's coming up right after this break. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to the Wow Report on Radio Andy.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
We are back. This is the Wow Report on Radio Andy, where we do the countdown of the things that make us go wow. Wow doesn't seem to be the right word, and yet it does, because we are in number 1.
Number 1.
Paying tribute to the memory of the Vivienne, a wonderful, talented drag queen whose performances and beauty and personality made us and the world go wow, and passed away at, I think, 32 years of age. She was the winner of RuPaul's Drag Race UK Season 1. She is the first queen to ever be invited by Ru to come to the US to compete in the All Winners season of All Stars. When people passed away, you think, oh, everyone forgets the bad stuff. There wasn't really bad stuff with the Vivienne. She was super talented, super pulled together.
Super funny, super beautiful. Yeah.
the queens and everyone who's worked with her are coming forward with incredible names. She was big here. She was huge in the UK. She was doing television. She was in theater. She was starring
She just came off of over the holidays. She was the witch in The Wizard of Oz on West End. She played the baby snatcher in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang on the West End.
Yeah.
She was doing. She was scheduled to be on I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here coming up in this coming year. Really just talented, wickedly funny and wickedly beautiful.
And talking, someone's life ending too shortly. I couldn't believe she was just 32 because she seemed like she had accomplished so much, but had so much more to give us.
I first met her. She was on Transformations years before she was on the UK. She had come out to do it, and she talked about how much she wanted a UK version of Drag Race, blah blah blah, on the show. So beautiful and so funny. And this was like 2014, I think. We did that. I don't, Blake, if you remember, it was the Queen Elizabeth look.
I do remember her being on Transformations.
Yeah, and I remember. It's funny because I remember we were in the basement. We were waiting for the elevator, and the elevator doors opened, and RuPaul was in the elevator, and she walked out, and I saw the Vivienne. She lit up, and Ru stopped and met her, and I think that's when they first met the first time. This was years before Drag Race.
Well, another early connection was, I think, before Drag Race was in the UK. The club Gay, G-A-Y, in London used to play Drag Race, the regular Drag Race, and we would provide it for them, and they'd have big nights over there. And I think they did as promotion, like a queen, some contest where Ru would judge these tapes and invite someone just to visit the set. And the Vivienne won that years before. So
that's fascinating.
These things weren't like locked together. It's just these dots that kept happening in these circles among circles and the connections. So I can't even fathom that she's gone. It just doesn't make any sense, but I know she is. And
just a beautiful, and it's one of those things that we've talked about with like Maggie Smith and everything like that. Live your life so that when you are gone, everybody has something wonderful to say about you, and everybody has something wonderful to say about Vivienne.
Yes. And we will miss you, sweet Vivienne.
Yeah, definitely.
And this weekend in London is RuPaul's DragCon UK. They will have a booth for the Vivienne. They posted on Instagram. RuPaul's DragCon posted on Instagram, as we all move through this weekend together, we know that many of us will want to celebrate the Vivienne by sharing condolences with those close to her. Please be mindful that we all process and experience grief differently, and some people might not be ready yet to talk about the loss of someone important to them. We're providing a memorial booth space on the pink carpet where all attendees of DragCon can go to pay tribute to the Vivienne, share condolences, and speak about it if they're ready.
And as always, we do need to point out that if you or someone you know is struggling with mental health, you can call or text 988 to connect with the 988 Suicide and Crisis Hotline.
I don't know that we know exactly how I don't know the exact report of her passing, but
no, but this is just for other people who are struggling with whatever it is that you were feeling. If you are feeling overwhelmed, you can talk to someone, and there is always somebody there at 988 to talk to.
All right. Well, I'm glad you guys are here. I hope we're all surviving again these devastating fires. We don't even know what's ahead of us, but we'll get through it together. Hopefully we'll be back with us next week. Until then, please go out and do something that makes the world go wow.